Anxiety, also known as the most common mental health disorder affecting nearly 40 million adults each year in the United States alone. Anxiety can take many shapes and forms, but no matter what form it takes, it's guaranteed to have a negative impact on your life and those surrounding you. Here are a few of my favorite strategies for coping with it. Welcome to part 2 of my original content series, and hopefully these tips can help you beat or manage your anxiety. I want to preface this video by saying these are only lifestyle tips, and that if you're facing a serious crisis, medication and therapy may be necessary. Please see your doctor or therapist if this is the case. And without further ado, let's get into my top tips for crushing anxiety. Avoid caffeine. This is probably the tip that I recommend the most on this list based on personal experience. Whenever I've had a panic attack, they all had one thing in common: caffeine. Caffeine is essentially rocket fuel for anxiety, especially when mixed with regular alcohol consumption. If you don't believe me, go ahead and do some experimentation by yourself. Try reducing your caffeine intake by half and tell me how you feel. Coffee and energy drinks seem to be the main culprits here, more so than things like tea, pop, and other sources. One common way to wean off caffeine is to replace your daily coffee or Red Bull with a cup of green or black tea instead. Better yet, try switching to water to help you stay hydrated and energized. Caffeine withdrawal can have some pretty horrible symptoms though, ranging from mild headaches to full-on nausea and depression with loss of interest in daily activities. Quitting caffeine, or at least significantly reducing your intake, is one tip that I cannot recommend enough. Avoid alcohol. Contrary to popular belief, alcohol can actually raise your anxiety and stress levels rather than reducing them. When you drink, you may feel on top of the world for the night, but as soon as the next day rolls around, your sense of anxiety and nervousness is spiked. Alcohol is a crutch for anxiety, but doesn't serve as a long-term solution. I like a drink after a hard week of work as much as the next guy, but severely limiting your intake can do wonders for your mental health. The one time I had a panic attack that sent me to the ER was after a long night of drinking, followed by a heavy dose of caffeine the next morning. Alcohol interrupts the activity of neurotransmitters such as serotonin and endorphins, which could help explain why you feel so awful the next day. With this said, cutting or severely limiting your intake of alcoholic beverages may be a huge step you can take towards managing your anxiety once and for all. Look for your triggers. Look for the triggers for your anxiety and try to avoid them if it is healthy to do so. There are many things that trigger anxiety for many different people. It could be talking to your boss, flying, getting on the highway in traffic, giving a presentation in front of a large group, or being in a crowded room. Sometimes it is not always possible to avoid these, and avoiding social interaction isn't always the wisest move. But it is important for you to recognize your triggers so that you can avoid them or work past them. Make a list of what triggers your anxiety and be mindful of it next time. Daily exercise. Like with depression, exercise is a key player in combating anxiety as well. I recommend at least 30 minutes of vigorous exercise per day. The release of endorphins will help you feel calm, relaxed, and centered. Apart from releasing these feel-good endorphins in your brain, exercise will take your mind off the worries that were causing your anxiety in the first place, which may be its greatest benefit after all. Staying in shape will also help you gain confidence in social situations, which is important to remember for those of us suffering from social anxiety. For me, my anxiety always seemed to be greater when I was self-conscious and carrying around a few extra pounds. Exercise is also an extremely healthy way to cope with this issue versus just dwelling on your thoughts or trying to escape them with alcohol or other drugs. Fact check your thoughts. Your fears that drive your anxiety are not always rooted in solid logic. Take some time to think critically about the source of your anxiety. Next time your mind jumps to a conclusion that inevitably sends you into a spiral towards depression or anxiety, check to see where your head was at the time of that interpretation. Rather than thinking, "I'm going to bomb this presentation," think, "I'm nervous, but I'm prepared and it will probably go better than I am thinking." Getting into a pattern of rethinking your fears helps train your brain to come up with a more rational way to deal with your anxious thoughts. Just remember, thoughts are not facts. Distract yourself. One tip I use when I'm facing an anxiety attack is to take my mind off of the situation. You can do this by going for a walk, watching a funny video on YouTube, or whatever else you can think of. Just do something to take your mind off of what's causing your anxiety so you can come back and attack it later. Another great way to distract yourself is to take slow, deep breaths and focus slowly on your breathing. Getting in a routine and doing yoga can also prove to be a great way to distract yourself and get your mind off your daily worries. Plus, it will help keep you in good shape as well. So remember, the next time you are feeling anxious, find a way to distract yourself and put your mind at peace. Try supplements or change your diet. There are a few supplements you can take and a few foods you can eat to help kill your anxiety. Some of these foods include asparagus, avocado, almonds, blueberries, and turkey. Some supplements you can take if you suffer from anxiety include ashwagandha, valerian root, licorice root, passion flower, and omega-3 fatty acids. There have also been several clinical studies that show that CBD oil can have strong anti-anxiety and antidepressant effects when taken. Make sure to consult your primary care provider before making any major changes to your diet if you choose to do so. Adding these foods and supplements may give you the edge in the battle against anxiety. Alright guys, and that brings us to the end of part 2 of my original content series, 7 Tips to Kill Your Anxiety. If you made it this far into the video, thank you. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'm starting this community on YouTube to help those of us that suffer from mental health issues and giving us a place to gather and share our stories. As always, I should be uploading 3 videos a week going forward, so until next time guys, peace.